episode 1 is the locked door. Mm-hmm. And before we begin, I guess we need to. I don't know if we really need to do this. I mean, if you're listening to a true crime podcast, right?
You're prepared. You should be prepared for the worst.
Prepared for the worst. But listener discretion is advised. This episode contains descriptions of violence and homicide. So we're going to Lake Bridgeport in Wise County, Texas. Population of under 1,000, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just over 300 people.
300 people. Mm-hmm. You ever been up there before?
Yeah.
Selling houses up there?
Yeah, in fact. And then the lake up there. I mean, I eat lake.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Water skiing?
No. Good God, no.
Tubing?
Mm-mm. None of the above. I've just been, to the lake. I've never participated in any water sport activity of sorts.
Yeah.
Not really my thing.
You know, I think it's Bridgeport. I think that the impetus for digging that was by a TCU alum. I can't remember his name. Anyway, I'll think
there is a story behind that. There is a story behind that. I don't remember the details of it, but yes, I think you're on.
Anyway, it'll come to me in a second. But anyway, there's no local police department there.
Nope.
So that means they're under the jurisdiction of the Wise County Police Department.
Sheriff's Department.
Excuse me, Sheriff's Department. Yes, I meant that. That's what I meant. And I think we find that we'll discuss this later, but I think we find that fact comes into play here, that there is no local jurisdiction. Anyway, we'll get to that. But anyway, on the morning of July 5th, 2019, something happened in Lake Bridgeport, that would fracture this community, and it remains unsolved. So let's set this up.
Remains unsolved.
Correct.
There's going to be some twists and turns towards the end, I think. But setting it up, I think we need to first explain how we came across this.
Yeah, let's do that.
So,
how did we come across this?
My buddy Drew.
I know Drew,
You know Drew, a Wise County kid.
Oh, boy.
He's very much a Wise County kid, if you will.
Wise-ass county kid?
Oh, to the umpteenth degree. To the extreme. He's telling me, he said, hey, you need to look into this blog. There's a guy he's a defense attorney. His name's Barry Green.
I've heard of Barry Green.
Yeah. He had a swim through here at the DA's office. Very lively fellow, at least. And I say that because on his blog, Liberally Lean, he's got some funny content on there. It's got I don't know that it has it's titled Liberally Lean. I don't know. Political spin, some of it, but it's really just pure entertainment.
Yeah.
Some of it makes me laugh.
Yeah, sure.
And so
that's why we're here on this earth.
That's why we're here. And so this case he was involved in, and it was one, even now, I'm almost left with more questions than answers because I don't understand how we got to the point that we're going to tell everybody about. And a lot of the content were things that he provided to the masses, if you will.
Through his blog.
Through some of his social media accounts. This guy is screaming from the mountaintops. And that, not the mountaintops quite literally, but you'll see what he saw as this thing plays on. So, to get this set up, so we're talking July 5th, 2019, early morning hours. So the morning after 4th of July festivities.
Yeah.
We are talking about a lake community.
Mm-hmm.
The parties were definitely kind of the center of town, if you will. Definitely the center of this story. It's got a little part to do with that. But at 4:20 in the morning, Wise County Dispatch gets a 911 call. A neighbor reports smelling smoke coming from a duplex at 620 North Main Street. He says the woman who lives there, Lauren Whitener, is not answering her phone. The windows are hot to the touch. The curtains are drawn. There's no visible flames. The front door is deadbolted. So when they get there, they have to force entry. Now, to set it up just a little bit, we're talking about a row of 6 duplex buildings. Mm-hmm. This 911 caller was calling from 640 North Main.
Okay.
So the adjoining duplex to where Lauren Whitener lived.
So inside that living room, a couch is on fire. Mm-hmm. In the bedroom, they find Lauren Whitener lying on a burned mattress. She's nude, except for a white shirt pushed up over her chest. And when investigators turn her body over, they realize immediately that the fire had nothing to do with her death.
No. Well, the autopsy, we'll get into that.
So who was Lauren?
So Lauren was a 32-year-old Army veteran. Mm-hmm. She served overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq. She was also a surgical nurse at the Wise Health System Hospital. She was a single mother with an 8-year-old son. By all accounts, she was close with her neighbors along North Main Street, especially the couple living 2 doors down at 660 North Main Street. Rodney Eric Maxwell, he goes by Eric, and his common law wife, or what's described as his common law wife, Ashley Hill.
What is a common law relationship? You live with somebody for common law marriage, that is. You live with somebody for how long?
I don't know.
I've heard so many conflicting things on this. If you receive mail there, I've heard that before. If you're receiving mail there for, I don't know how much time. That's Milton Daniel, by the way. I was thinking about Lake Bridgeport.
Milton Daniel.
Milton Daniel, yeah.
So they, obviously they go in, they find Lauren's body on the charred mattress. They see that the love seat in the living room is also smoldering, charred. Yeah. They see the stab wounds to her body.
Uh-huh.
So
she had she had 18. Is that what it was? Yeah. 18 stab wounds.
I think initially they saw 8 stab wounds, slice wounds.
Observed 8 stab wounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what they did was the investigators fairly quickly secured a search warrant for her duplex. Now I'm going to read a long list of evidence.
Yeah, please do.
Now, all of this is going to become relevant, but it is a long list, so it's important to pay attention what's on this list.
We got time.
So, in and around her duplex, investigators recover or find. There's going to be some discrepancies on what they recover/seize versus what they actually see. But in her duplex, they find a blue lighter on the front porch.
Blue lighter.
A full beer can under the couch. A kitchen knife with an 8-inch blade in the sink. A kitchen knife with almost a 5-inch blade in the sink. 3 knives and 1 pair of scissors from a kitchen drawer. Sleep aid cough medication on the nightstand in the bedroom. A purple lighter on the right nightstand in the primary bedroom. An empty water bottle on the left nightstand in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. An empty bottle on or near the right nightstand in the primary bedroom. There's some cigarettes in or on the left nightstand in the primary bedroom. A blue lady shirt on the bed in the primary bedroom. A pair of men's boxers. A cell phone located in the kitchen. A knife on the front porch. A knife on the grill in the backyard. Multiple cigarette butts in an ashtray on the front porch. Multiple cigarette butts on the ground near the porch area. Lighter fluid from the backyard of 640 North Main Street.
Yeah.
So that's where the 911 callers were calling from. Again, the adjoining duplex. They had their own separate fenced backyards. A green lighter from the backyard fence line near 660 North Main Street, so the next duplex building over. 3 cigarette butts on the kitchen counter. A router, these are interesting, 3 smoke detectors that had been removed from the ceiling, and 3 batteries in the trash can from said smoke detectors. Not all, though. There's more. It was also reported that investigators confiscated the following near or also at 620 North Main Street: a bloody blue cell phone case. The medical examiner during the autopsy collected nail clippings, the victim's clothing. They also did a sexual activity kit to see if there was some kind of sexual assault involved. And then finally, hair from an outside trash can, possibly like a bathroom trash can, something like that. So again, that list of evidence becomes important. Kind of recapping, obviously they get the 911 call, they respond, the front door's locked, they go in. Lauren's body is deceased on her bedroom, on her bed in her bedroom. Mattress is charred, smoldering, burned, whatever you want to call it. A love seat in the living room, front living room.
Same thing.
Same thing. House did not become engulfed in flames or anything of the sort.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Now that autopsy, I'm guessing, was probably performed here. I bet Wise County doesn't have a coroner either.
Nope. They went to Dallas County.
Dallas County, okay.
Dallas County medical examiner.
All right. And we want to discuss what the autopsy.
Yeah, we can do that.
So the Dallas County medical examiner, as you just mentioned, conducts this autopsy, and Lauren had 18 stab wounds. 16 of those were on her back.
Mm-hmm.
Others were to her neck and jaw. And the medical examiner in Dallas rules this death by sharp force injuries to the neck and trunk. The smoke inhalation
That was not.
was not a contributing factor, which means that the fire was set after she was already dead. And some early questions that come to mind when we think about this are: why deadbolt the door? Why set the couch on fire but not the bed?
I mean, the bed was.
Bed was on fire. Well, but we don't know if that was from her burning.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. I think I have some
right.
ideas on that.
And why, if this was sexual assault, does nothing at the scene immediately explain it? So, you want to start with the neighbors now?
So, like any investigation, the investigators are going to interview as many witnesses as they possibly can. In this case, we know that there's 6 duplex buildings on the same street, all next door to each other.
So there's also, let's butt in here right quick. Mm-hmm. The Wise County Sheriff's Office, who's conducting this investigation, correct? Mm-hmm. There is no quote-unquote homicide detective or detectives in the Wise County office, right? We're just talking about sheriff's deputies out there, using whatever.
Well, I think they have their own detectives, but they're, kind of a catch-all, if you will.
All right, yeah, they're doing anything from robbery to somebody impersonating a sheriff's deputy to this.
To this.
All right, go on.
They call in some help. Obviously, the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, they came in.
Yeah, they came in, and that's gonna be a topic that we're gonna discuss. But like I said, they're going to interview as many witnesses as possible, right? to learn probably more about Lauren, to learn about, like, hey, how did this happen? Did anyone see anything? Did anyone hear anything? The list goes on. So, like I mentioned earlier, they collected a mountain of evidence at the crime scene, or reported a mountain of evidence at the crime scene. Some of the items that collected, we learned that the 3 smoke detectors were removed from the ceilings, and the batteries were removed from the smoke detectors. They swabbed those for DNA. These were not the only items, though, that were swabbed for biological evidence. Again, something that, as this plays out. So also this investigation, in talking to the neighbors, they specifically interviewed Eric Maxwell and his wife, Ashley, in the morning hours of July 5th. They're doing this now to kind of set the scene. These are interviews, in the front seat of a detective's car. These may be in a front yard. It's 2019, or they may be using their phone to record it. They may be using the old school recorders I'm sure that you're familiar with.
Yeah, sure.
Just collecting as much information that they can. So in these initial interviews, they ask Eric Maxwell, his wife Ashley Hill, to go to the sheriff's office later that day to get a more detailed description. Maxwell and Hill agreed, so that later on in the day, they go to the sheriff's office. They provide a more detailed statement. Eric Maxwell voluntarily provides his fingerprints and a DNA sample. He wasn't the only one, though. There were other neighbors who were asked and did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to go kind of in a chronological step here. So we know, again, just kind of recapping, this crime happens on the 5th. Investigators collect evidence. They interview neighbors. They're still actively working this. They clearly have not developed any kind of theory on what happened, who's involved, what was the root cause of this crime, what was the motive of this crime. So July 8th, investigators go back out to the crime scene. They locate a pair of black latex gloves approximately 200 to 250 yards away from Lauren's duplex. I don't know exactly where. That's one of the things that we ran into a lot in reading about this case. We know that on July 9th...
It's 250 yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So decent ways away,
yeah.
But still, how many pairs of black latex gloves do you find laying on any neighborhood street? Now, there could be easy explanations, right? It could have been the first responders who were there. I mean, who knows where those black latex gloves came from? Could have been the suspects, though.
Had they? I wonder if the sheriff's deputies had they combed that area before and not seen them, or was this a new territory that they just said, "Hey, let's go check this out"? We don't know.
Well, we don't know for sure. It's possible that they did, but again, one of the other things we have to remember is it's Wise County, Texas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is still rural by nature,
yeah.
Right? I mean, it's not a huge thriving area.
Rural is a hard word to say, too, by the way.
Rural.
Yeah, you nailed it, but...
You made me self-conscious that I messed it up. So, I think...
Yeah, it is rural.
Their resources are going to be limited, right? They don't have the luxuries of the big city where you're calling people in.
Yeah.
You've got multitasking at its finest going on at this point.
I wonder how big that sheriff's office is.
I would think, I don't know, maybe 100 deputies or so, give or take, somewhere in that ballpark.
Is that big?
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe I'm way off. But you've got all these guys, all these investigators multitasking, right? You've got some that are focusing on the crime scene, i.e., quite literally inside her apartment, perhaps even just her building. You've got others that are interviewing all these witnesses, neighbors, etc. You may have some people kind of combing the area, but again, how many and how detailed can they possibly be? That's hard to say. So one of the other things, part of the documents that we examined, that we looked at, so on July 9th, investigators conduct a consent to search at an apartment belonging to a person that we know as Salim S. I have no clue who Salim S. is. I have no clue where his apartment is. I just know that it was around the same time as this investigation
All right.
is going on. Okay. So is Salim S. a suspect?
Related to this,
Awesome. Who knows?
yeah.
Okay. So July 10th. This is where more of the story starts to come out a little bit. So they again interview a guy named Billy Ray Thompson and a lady named Vicky Bondavi. So Billy and Vicky lived in the duplexes to the north of Maxwell and Hill. So probably 680 North Main Street, maybe even the building one up from that.
All right.
Okay. So Billy, going back to the July 4th night, Billy had called Maxwell over to his duplex because he observed that Maxwell and his wife, Ashley Hill, were in some kind of argument. Again, it's 4th of July night. Probably like a block party style environment.
Yeah.
Right?
People
Everybody's
outside.
out. It's I guarantee in Wise County they're setting off fireworks, all the stuff that you would do.
Yeah.
Things that we can't necessarily do here in
Outside the loop, and it's rural.
Yeah, exactly.
That's redundancy.
Yes. So Billy calls Maxwell over, sees this argument, and he asks what's going on. Maxwell tells...
Lots of alcohol involved, too, I'm sure.
I mean, it is the 4th of July.
And it's in Wise County.
There is some mention of alcohol. We're going to get to that. Maxwell tells Billy that he and Hill had gotten into a fight inside the residence. Maxwell grabbed Hill by the jaw, and Lauren Whitener was also there. She jumps in between.
Okay.
Separates.
Yeah.
Where their relationship, again, they're neighbors, they're clearly friends, okay?
Yeah.
But Maxwell tells Billy that he, Hill, and Whitener were involved in some kind of threesome.
Uh-oh.
I hear this new term, I think it was called a thruple. Is that correct?
Thruple.
Yes, it's a
I've heard
thruple.
this, too.
I have never heard of this term up until talking about this story.
Yeah. I've always heard it more associated with like gay couples.
I feel like it's becoming more of like a thing for like bisexual men and women type stuff.
So, okay, so a
This is
thruple.
going way off the rails here.
While all three of them are in a
And
relationship
none of
together.
them are actually like. I mean, I guess the one couple, the Hill Maxwell couple, are common law, so that makes them legally together at some point. But there's no
marriage.
between any of them, right? I mean, so it's just.
I'm listening to this story as it happens, but I can tell you on the thruple side, it's three people who are all in a monogamous relationship together.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
There we go. I don't know. I just heard the term. I just thought it was a new way of describing a threesome. I don't know.
You're right before our eyes, ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing a man evolve
Evolve.
into
Yes. Indeed.
into modern society.
Yeah. Well,
We're all very proud of you.
Good
No,
luck.
but I'd heard of it, but I'm not. I'm certainly.
good luck with that. So
Do you imagine how complicated that relationship would be between a throuple? Throuple? Did I get that right? Throuple?
It's a thruple.
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 couple with a TH.
Oh, thruple. A thruple. You imagine how complicated that would be? Could you imagine being in a thruple?
Me?
Yes.
Good God, look at me. No.
I mean, it's hard enough handling one wife, right? Or let's chauvinistic. It's hard enough handling one spouse. Could you imagine having to handle two?
Zero chance.
I mean, just think about how difficult. It's difficult enough trying to figure out where we're going to go eat with one spouse.
Yes. Just nothing gets done ever.
Nothing gets done ever.
Nothing gets accomplished. All right, we got to get back on topic.
Do we? Okay.
This is hilarious, by the way.
Get back on topic with this. We're talking about a murder here, all right?
And possibly involving a throuple.
A throuple. So during this conversation with Maxwell and the neighbor. Maxwell conveys that he believed that his wife wanted to be with Lauren instead of him.
See, here we go.
So now it's you know what it is.
Wait, so they were in a throuple with another man,
Yes.
but also this chick
No, there's
supposedly in a relationship with the.
one throuple
Okay.
involving Maxwell, Hill, his common law wife, and their neighbor,
Lauren.
our victim,
Okay.
Lauren Whitener.
Got you. For some
So it's
reason, I thought there was
going-
another
this
man
is-
involved.
Yeah, I mean, this took kind of an interesting turn. Now, they also, though, got some more context on this friendship, even the day before, on July 3rd.
Well, and when you say, if I'm the law enforcement officer and we got like some sort of threesome throuple,
Yeah.
my ears perk up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
But again, so we go back to they're interviewing all of the witnesses, right?
Yeah.
So what they learn, you've got to get the facts prior to this crime, prior to the officers responding. So on July 3rd, they learned that Lauren spent time with Maxwell and Hill.
Mm-hmm.
They were close. They were friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they had barbecues together. Their kids played on a trampoline together.
Yeah, Lauren's got an 8-year-old, and these two got a kid.
They got a
Or
kid. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And on July 3rd, that day before, even though Lauren only lived a mere 50 feet or so away,
Yeah.
she and a male friend stay at Maxwell and Hill's home overnight.
Good Lord. What do we call this, Ashley?
I don't know.
Who knows what this is called. So July 3rd, Whitener's at their house. July 4th, Whitener spends the day with Maxwell and Hill. Her male friend, he's reported to have left at around noon. So again, 4th of July partying. The group ate Chinese food, drinking beers, right? So it's a 4th of July get-together, right?
Nothing says the 4th of July like
Chinese food, beer, and Wise County and fireworks.
Yeah.
That is 4th of July at its finest, okay? So they're starting to get some of the stories, understanding some of the relationship, okay? They know that Lauren was, reportedly very friendly with the neighbors 2 doors down.
Yeah.
So we talked about the July 8th, the black latex gloves being found.
Yeah.
July 9th, the consent to search at Salim S.'s apartment. July 10th is when they interview Billy and learn about a lot of this threesome stuff, if you will. So we're going to go to July 11th. Investigators ask Eric Maxwell to return to the sheriff's office for another interview. This time, Maxwell was met by Wise County Sheriff's Office investigators and a Texas Ranger. The interview took on a different tone.
All right.
This is not,
Tell us about this.
such a friendly, hey, buddy, let's just get the facts here. This turns into an interrogation.
Yeah. And those are always rough.
And this turns into, we talked about the polygraphs earlier.
Yeah.
Investigators tell Maxwell that they had brought in a polygrapher from the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C.
The U.S. Department of Justice.
The U.S. Department of Justice flew down to Wise County for a polygraph.
How common would that be?
I don't think it would be common at all.
Yeah, right? Because typically in your own lot, like let's say four of the Dallas police departments, they have their own.
You have your own, but then going back to Rick Holden, you have them drive out Rick Holden is in Dallas-Fort Worth, is the premier best of the best.
So they might contract with a guy like
with
Rick Holden, come out and do this type of stuff.
The legit investigators know he is the best one. So they're not going to call in an unknown. Now, again, it is Wise County. Does their budget allow for
Yeah.
this? I don't know.
So, well, I mean, they're going to have to pay the U.S. Department of Justice something, I presume, or no?
No, not necessarily.
All right. So they call them out.
Yeah, so they tell Maxwell, hey, we've got this polygrapher here. They're interrogating him. Take a polygraph, and he says, okay, I'll do that, and he takes a polygraph.
Yeah.
So this is a 9.5 hour interrogation polygraph
9.5 hours.
exam. Throughout that entire time, Maxwell is continuing his claims of innocence. Mm-hmm. I didn't do anything. The investigators tell Maxwell that he fails his polygraph. I don't know if that's true or not. Very well could be. This would go too far off down rabbit holes.
So you're allowed to do that, huh? You can just say,
yeah, you can
just lie about
yeah, you can lie
about somebody.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Good Lord.
Well, I mean, there is an investigative.
F. Lee Bailey was right. All right.
There's an investigative need for it in some cases, right? Again, going off into this whole polygraph thing, obviously we have people that would have a better opinion of it or have much more knowledge of it than what I have or any of us would have.
So anyway, they tell him he's failed this thing.
He fails the polygraph. He keeps saying,
Which may or may not be true. But anyway.
I did not kill my neighbor. I didn't kill Lauren. I mean, he is screaming it. They let him leave, right? He doesn't confess to it. Whether he failed the polygraph, didn't fail the polygraph, who knows? But they let him leave. Same day, the investigators also interview a female witness. They interview Maxwell's father and a person that I only know of as Ace. I don't know if that's his real name, nickname. I have no idea.
Baptismal name, Ace.
Now, this interrogation polygraph on July 11th is not all that they were doing, though. Yeah. Simultaneously, investigators had obtained a search warrant for Maxwell's house.
Okay.
So while they are there interviewing him, you have other investigators that are executing a search warrant at his home at 660 North Main Street. So during the search, investigators utilized Blue Star. It's a product name for luminol.
What is luminol?
We'll get it. We'll go. In short, it makes blood glow. Right. I don't want to get too far off into the science of it because I'm not, frankly, that versed in it. But it makes blood glow, whether it's visible to the naked eye or not. Okay. So they use the Blue Star to illuminate items that appeared to have blood on them.
And this is in Maxwell's house, Maxwell and their apartment.
Mm-hmm. And we'll put a link just so the listeners can know what it is. So once they do that, once they use the luminol, they're also going to use what we're going to call a hemastick, and that's what that is it's like a presumptive positive test, right? This is not in a lab environment. This is at the crime scene. Yeah. This is where the presumptive test is what I would call rather rudimentary. It gives the investigators an idea. Now, what I can speak to would be more in the drug world. We had these little, technology has changed, but we had these little things, we call them narco pouches. So if you come up to a white powdery substance that you think is cocaine, you put a very small sample in there. It had 3 ampules. You break these 3 ampules, shake it up, and it would turn blue.
If it was.
Blue if it was, yeah. And you would note this is presumptive positive. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist. This is not in a lab environment. It's just reacting with these reagents to say that it's presumptive.
So this hemastick is the same thing. They
Similar.
take it's similar, yeah. They take what they think might be blood particles, and they put it in this thing on the scene, and whatever the chemical reactions are, whatever else, it shows up yes or no.
So the presumptive blood test
Positive
showed positive results for the presence of human blood on the items that were collected. We'll talk about that. Now, also on the front porch of Maxwell's residence, they noticed a red can of gasoline, your rather standard gas can, right?
Yeah, right.
In the pantry, investigators located a bottle of lighter fluid in which they said a presumptive test for human blood showed a positive result. In total, during this search warrant, investigators submitted 5 items to the crime lab. Okay, so three of them were swabs collected to the positive reaction, that hemostick.
Mm-hmm.
1 piece of fabric from a love seat.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And 1 half towel from a trash bag on Maxwell's front porch. So Maxwell's at the sheriff's office getting interrogated, taking a polygraph. Other detectives are at his house, and they ultimately walk out with what we know 5 things: the 3 samples, the love seat fabric, and the half towel.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
Which if there's blood or whatever, other people live there. It could be their blood, it could be whatever.
So it seems like they're hot on the trail, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they've already done the consent to search. Consent to search is when somebody allows you to search their house, car, person, right?
Without a warrant.
Without a warrant. They do that on July 9th with this guy Salim S. It seemingly doesn't result in anything more. July 11th, they're there at Maxwell's, interviewing, searching. July 12th comes around.
Yeah.
Okay, so Maxwell leaves on July 11th, free to go. No charges, no nothing. So July 12th, we're talking 1 week after the crime, exactly 7 days.
Yeah.
A restoration crew cleans out the crime scene. We'll put a link to that video. So they're at Lauren's duplex, pulling out those big, heavy trash bags, the contractor bags, just loading up a trailer. On the video, you're going to see the char on the wall from the smoke. It's got a couple cross outlines. Perhaps she had some crosses hanging on the wall. Well, she did. This crew cleans out the crime scene. Now, who says to do that?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
I don't know, right? I mean,
But this seems like, I don't know how this, I do not know exactly how this case ends. I have an idea, but
I wouldn't have thought anything was out of the ordinary. I think a week, in theory, would be enough time.
because obviously the property owner wants, to get this thing past them.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, the guy that owns this apartment, this duplex, owns all 6 of them.
Yeah, right.
It is a investment / business.
Yeah,
for him.
sure, of course.
Tragic, absolutely.
Life goes on.
But life
this
goes on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he needs to get the thing completely cleaned and
So I think where we're going to end this one
yeah.
for today, for this episode, in addition to the crime scene being cleaned out, on or about the same day, it could have been the 13th, July 11th, 12th, 13th, we know that investigators applied to the court to install a tracker on an unknown vehicle.
Okay.
Okay, so now this could be somebody that they've already identified or somebody they want to know more about.
Could be Slim S. Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, could be. Yeah, exactly. And where it leads me to believe probably not, though, on the same day, they also searched Eric Maxwell's Acura. So what I think probably happened was they either had a search warrant for that Acura, maybe it was a consent to search, I don't know which. Mm-hmm. But during the course of that search when they installed the tracker on his vehicle. Again, that's just a theory that I have, but I think there would be a lot of coincidence to
stands to reason. Right?
So now they want to know, where else is Maxwell going?
Yeah.
Right? The tracker's not giving you post data. It's only giving you present data. So where is this guy going?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to leave it at that for now. So again, I think the recap, we had the murder, the fire, the murder, the mountain of evidence that was recovered. We have a couple seemingly suspects identified. We know that Maxwell, part of the my new term that I've learned, the thruple, seems to be a suspect.
Yeah.
You know, they brought him in. They've given him a polygraph. They've quote interrogated him.
Yeah.
So he seems to be a suspect. They released the crime scene. It's cleaned out. The crime scene's cleaned out by a civilian restoration crew, a crew that has nothing to do with the investigation.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to leave it there. And when we get to episode 8 next week, we're going to go down the other roads or avenues that this case goes.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's certainly maybe what is key is stuff they don't collect, possibly. I don't know.
Huh. There's a reason we're talking about this one. It goes down so many different trails that I would have never imagined in the year 2019. So, yeah, they're going to have to tune in and check this out.
All right, yeah, please do tune in. All right, so let's carry on with this mystery we're discussing in Wise County. Before we begin, you know, there's should be some listener discretion proclamations. Mm-hmm. This case that we're discussing contains descriptions of violence and homicide. So if you're sensitive to that type of thing, or you don't want your kids around while you're listening to this, please be advised.
Yes.
The National Weather Service has issued a listener discretion warning.
Okay. All right.
So in our last episode, the Wise County Sheriff's Office discovers a deceased young woman, 32-year-old Lauren Whitener. She's an Army veteran who had deployments in both Afghanistan and Iraq. And she's also a surgical nurse in the Wise County System Hospital. She was a single mother with an 8-year-old son. Now, she also had 2 close neighbors whom she's close with. A Mr. Rodney Eric Maxwell, who goes by Eric, and a Miss Ashley Hill. A common law couple.
As it's described?
Yes. And they were very close, these 3. Some neighbors say extremely close.
Extremely close.
Like threesome sexual stuff close.
That's what they're saying.
We also learned in episode 7, our previous episode, that relationship is called a thruple.
Thruple, yeah. Yeah.
It might have even included a quadruple or something.
It very well could have. I don't know.
We don't know that. We don't know any of that stuff. But anyway, neighbors say that these 3 were very, very close. And on July 4th, perhaps one of those neighbors, but a neighbor, reported that an argument between Maxwell and Hill became volatile.
Yep.
So much so that Maxwell, according to this neighbor, grabbed Hill, his common-law wife, by the jaw.
Uh-huh.
And Lauren stepped in between them to break it up.
Yep.
So anyway, afterwards, they all go their separate ways. And later, on July 5th, sheriff's deputies in Wise County find Whitener deceased on a burn mattress, the victim of 18 stab wounds, many of those to her neck and jaw. Mm-hmm. We also learned that Wise County investigators seemed to be on the line of a suspect.
Or suspects.
Or suspects.
Yes.
So when investigators search 620 North Main, they don't just collect a few items, they collect a bunch of stuff. Knives, lighters, cigarette butts, clothing, smoke detectors, batteries. Jake, take it away.
All right. So, quick recap. So, 4:20 on July 5th. It's the 911 call. Bodies found. They continue canvassing the area over the next 4 or 5 days. They find the black latex gloves. They do the consent to search. They interview Eric Maxwell several times. He provides his DNA sample, fingerprints, etc., and is stating his innocence.
He is, and they also did the same for some other neighbors too, as far as
the same for others.
collecting DNA stuff. Yep.
They seem to be turning their attention to Maxwell. Remember, on July 11th, they run the search warrant at his apartment, and they describe finding blood on a bottle of charcoal lighter fluid in the pantry. They submit 3 swabs to have analyzed, part of the love seat, the fabric from the love seat, and the half towel. They make note of a red gasoline can on his front porch. There's a tracker installed on an unknown vehicle, but it seems to be Maxwell's vehicle. On July 12th, if we remember, that's where the restoration crew, it's a company, civilian company, cleans out the crime scene.
Yeah.
There's news crews there showing this. So one would think that at that point, the crime scene's been released. What more can you do? Well, it doesn't stop there. So, like I mentioned, although the crime scene was cleaned up, investigators again returned to 620 North Main Street on July 16th. In this search, investigators located, located trace blood evidence on the floor just inside the back door, which is easterly facing.
This is after it's been cleaned up.
After it's cleaned up.
All right.
As well as on the brick patio just outside of the back door. So we're now 11 days after the crime. We're now dealing with a crime scene that has, in essence, been released. We've got a civilian crew that's gone in there. It is unlikely the civilian crew is concerned about contaminating any sort of evidence.
They're doing a job.
They're doing their job.
Clean it up.
And they're probably thinking, well, they must have this case solved because we're already here cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Right?
Stands to reason.
Inside, on this July 16th search, investigators discovered blood evidence in the hallway and the front door. But investigators, believe that to have been left by the mattress the victim had been lying on. And then furthermore, the body of Lauren was removed through the front door when she was taken to the medical examiner's office. Right. So we're there on the 16th. They find some blood evidence inside and outside of the house.
I'd like to know how the restoration crew how they left that behind.
What?
The blood evidence.
It's very possible, right? There is a thing with contamination. So the next day, we go on to July 17th. Investigators meet with a guy, the owner of the duplexes. Mm-hmm. So we know that he owns 620, 640, 660, and 680 North Main Street. So these are 2 duplex buildings. Yeah, okay. We'll have the picture of Whitener's, and then we'll have another picture of the 2, and it shows the proximity or the space in between. So the duplex owner gives investigators a consent to search for the locations. And during this consent to search, investigators locate trace blood evidence in the grass, which is behind or on the east side of the duplexes.
Backyards.
The backyards.
Yeah.
The path of the blood evidence leads between the back door of 620 North Main Street and the gated fence in the backyard of 660 North Main Street. The blood evidence was located outside of the fence yard of 660 North Main in the common areas of the property. So like I said, in the photograph, it's going to be this area.
Almost like an alleyway type thing.
It's like an alleyway or just the separation
between the
houses.
Gotcha,
right?
yeah.
We haven't got a lot of details in regards to certain aspects of this case, but I don't know. The consent to search confuses me a little bit, right? Because they say, hey, property owner, 620 North Main is now vacant for all intents and purposes, right? But 640 North Main Street is not vacant. We know that the people that called 911 lived there. And we know factually that 660 North Main Street is not vacant because the police had just executed a search warrant there some 5 days, 6 days.
That's the Hills, Maxwell and Hills place.
Hills property.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of confusion on what the strategy was behind that. That would be like if you rent a house, okay, and the police suspect you of doing something, instead of going to you, the tenant that has a signed lease, they go to a
landlord
and say, hey, mind if we take a look at this? You own the place, right? How does that make you feel, right? You can't do that. That's plain and simple, right? I mean, you live in the house.
Yeah.
Whether it's the backyard.
There's got to be lease protections to something like that, right?
Well, it's not even lease protections.
The law before, yeah.
I think it's called the Fourth Amendment.
Well, yeah.
Right? You apply that. You can't do that, but they did. That's my opinion. Not as an attorney, but
that's why we're here.
Never have done that. Okay, so this consent to search on the 17th. The findings led investigators to yet again execute another search warrant at Maxwell's house on July 18th.
Do we know if Maxwell or Hill or either one were they resisting another search? I wonder, or maybe that's why they did it.
By all accounts, no. Right? They voluntarily, and we're going to get into.
I mean, they invited them in the first time.
I don't know that they did a consent to search at his house, but they've voluntarily gone to the sheriff's office several times. He voluntarily provided his fingerprints. He voluntarily provided his DNA. He voluntarily took the polygraph
exam.
He seems to be cooperating. Now
that they claim he failed, but we don't know that.
Yeah, and does that mean anything? No, it doesn't mean anything.
Correct.
I mean, sometimes people do think when they're confronted by the police, I can just talk my way out of this mess.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work that way. Maybe it does sometimes, right? So they do that consent to search on July 17th. July 18th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, they get that. Based on that, they have enough probable cause now to search Maxwell and Hill's house again. And it is here where what was described, where I first learned about it from Barry Green, the defense attorney, was the single blade of grass theory.
Yeah.
Okay. So investigators sprayed, and this is a quote, investigators sprayed Blue Star outside of the victim's backyard to the edge of the defendant's backyard fence.
And Blue Star is like luminol.
It's a brand name for luminol.
That highlights dried blood stains.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So they sprayed this all over the yard back there.
And they we'll get into it. The Blue Star reacted to the possibility of blood on the grass outside of the victim's backyard fence and to the edge of the defendant's backyard fence.
Uh-huh.
Again, remember, this is a quote from one of the court documents. With each distinct reaction to the Blue Star, investigators conducted a presumptive test for blood. Each sample tested resulted in the presence of human blood. The distance between the victim's backyard gate to the defendant's backyard gate is approximately 50 feet. Investigators sprayed Blue Star inside the defendant's backyard, which had a positive reaction to the possibility of human blood. A presumptive test was conducted on the grass, and the grass had a positive test for human blood. Investigators sprayed the back doorknob of the victim's residence with Blue Star, which had a positive reaction to the possibility of human blood. One of the samples investigators submitted was a single blade of grass collected at approximately the halfway point between Whitener's and Maxwell's backyard gate.
So that's that empty space, right?
It's the empty space
Between the houses.
As you can see, this is not a dirt backyard. This is not. I mean, there is a hybrid mixture of grass and weeds, but there is what's described as a trail from Lauren's back door, which is here, the red back door,
Yeah.
all the way over to the backyard gate
Of Maxwell.
of Maxwell and Hill's
Hill's
So
house.
there is a trail of blood, and at the halfway point is a single blade of grass that they collect and they submit. Now,
One blade of grass,
one blade of grass,
even though we have a trail.
correct?
Okay.
Yes. So that's going to have some relevance.
Who makes that? Do we even know if there's a lead investigator? Who makes that decision that
No idea.
we're just going to submit one blade of grass?
No idea. And here's the other thing. Were more blades of grass submitted? Well, we don't know. I mean, there's a discovery packet, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but there's a discovery packet that in theory would have indicated everything. I mean, I've read nothing that says anything to the contrary outside of one blade of grass was collected. Now, so on July 24th, 2019, the lab results came back from the items that were collected from Maxwell's home on the July 11th search. Now, going back, that is the one where three of them were swabs, one of which was from a charcoal lighter fluid bottle.
Right.
You had so you had the three swabs. You had the cloth from the love seat and the half towel. Okay, so those items come back. So the presumptive positive results at the scene could not be confirmed by a lab analysis. The lab stated, quote, "There was insufficient sample quantity for further serological analysis. However, the sample quantity may be sufficient for future DNA analysis." And that's the end of the quote. This statement was in regards to 4 of the 5 items submitted. So the 3 swabs and the fabric from the love seat. That's what those are referring to. The 5th item, the half towel, tested negative for human blood. So in essence, the 4 samples, 4 of the 5 samples
Weren't sufficient enough to test.
insufficient. They could have tested for DNA. We'll go into that later. But in short, there's no confirmation of human blood.
Yeah.
The presumptive test says, yes, it's human blood. But again, the presumptive test is just that.
On that last item.
Yeah. Well, no, on all of the items. All of
Okay.
these items tested presumptive positive for human blood. But again, that is something at the crime scene. There's no lab component to that to confirm that, right? So here's where things get even a little bit crazy. So a further issue from this analysis. We've talked about the bottle of charcoal lighter fluid that tested positive for blood. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
That was the 5th item, right?
that was one of the
One of
the
the
items.
One of 5
That
items.
was one of the swabs. Okay. The actual charcoal lighter fluid bottle was never even tested. The blood reference on the bottle of charcoal lighter fluid was from a drop of what was believed to be blood on the floor in the pantry where the lighter fluid bottle was located. So when we get into the arrest warrants, we're going to show more relevancy into that statement. But in short, there was no blood on a bottle of charcoal lighter fluid in Eric Maxwell's house. There was a drop of what they believed to be blood on the pantry where the charcoal lighter fluid bottle was found. But that sample, again, was too insufficient. So it tested presumptive positive for blood, but the lab
Showed that it wasn't.
could not confirm it because the sample size was too small.
Gotcha.
Okay? So at this point, investigators are still looking, still investigating. So sometime in between July 24th and July 31st, investigators now possibly turn their attention to a person I only know as Gary. That's the only name I can see. Gary was interviewed. He also submitted to a polygraph exam on or about July 31st. At some point in their interviews with this guy, Gary, investigators learned that Lauren, at some point, had, quote, picked up a vagrant and later he would peek in her window. He thinks she, being Lauren, called the police on the man because she found him in her living room and he would not leave, end quote. So on or about August 1st, 2019, it's believed that the home of Gary was searched. Here, investigators collected 7 swabs, presumably of biological evidence. The home was described as being recently abandoned, and on August 5th of 2019, investigators traveled some 4 hours south to Austin, Texas. There, they seize what's described as a person of interest. That's the only reference I have. It's a person of interest. They seize the truck of a person of interest and search that truck. In that search, investigators collected 9 blood and or DNA sample swabs and a white t-shirt with blood and soot on it.
All right.
This Gary guy is not done though. So on August 7th, investigators have Gary make is what's described as a cold call. The context of the cold call is unknown, but what a cold call is it's a tactic. It's a ruse used by law enforcement to elicit a statement, right? We would do it like in the narcotics world.
Yeah.
We would want to know, okay, is the dope in the house? Well, we would have the informant call, say, hey, I'm coming by.
Pick
You got
something
it.
up.
Pick
Yeah.
it up. Is it there? Yeah. And then instead of the informant going, it'd be a SWAT team going, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's an example
Right.
of a cold call.
And
Just
that's
a
what they're
ruse.
having this Gary do.
They got this Gary guy doing this now. We don't even know anything about Gary. Almost 6 weeks after the murder, investigators again want to talk to Eric Maxwell and Ashley Hill. And again, they agree. They both came in for a voluntary interview. And again, this is in August. At the conclusion of those interviews, investigators asked to speak with Maxwell in a few weeks. They set it for September 6, 2019. They wanted to do this one at the Texas Department of Public Safety office in Decatur. So they get that interview scheduled, but they interviewed him one more time in between on August 19th. I don't know the context or what was learned in that interview. But what I want to do is go back. So we talked about the single blade of grass, right?
Yeah.
This is an ongoing investigation. There's a lot of twists and turns in this. You know, we've got evidence being analyzed. We've got other suspects being talked to. We've got search warrants.
Yeah.
But we have the single blade of grass. On August 30th of 2019, Pure Gold Forensics,
Almost 2 months after.
almost 2 months.
Yeah.
So Pure Gold Forensics is an off-site lab contracted by the Wise County Sheriff's Office. They're off-site. I believe they're in California. It's safe to say that Wise County pays them for this service. I know that I believe Barry Green had tried to find a invoice that would match up with this. I don't know that he found one that directly correlated. There were some invoices between Wise County and Pure Gold Forensics. Pure Gold on August 30th provides this report to the investigators. The single blade of grass did in fact contain the DNA of Lauren, but it also contained the DNA of at least one other person. However, the DNA sample of the second person was too small or insufficient to create a profile. That's not all. You remember the smoke detectors?
Yep.
Okay. So the results from the 3 smoke detectors and the batteries also came back. Lauren, she was listed as the major contributor of DNA on the smoke detectors and batteries, right? So it's safe to say that she had moved them, opened them. You know, when the batteries start going low and they start beeping, at some point she was the primary person who had touched those smoke detectors and those batteries. On 5 of the 6 items, the DNA samples, or the DNA sample was too small to compare if there was any other person, okay? So there was other DNA, other profile style things on the smoke detectors and the battery, but again, that sample size was too small. They just know Lauren. They know there's something else present, but not enough. However, the 6th item, this is what they call battery number 2. On the 6th item, it did contain a sufficient amount to create a DNA profile. On this item, though, battery 2, smoke detector battery 2, Maxwell, Hill, and the unknown person of interest, according to Pure Gold Forensics, quote, were absolutely excluded, end quote, as contributors. The DNA profile found on battery 2 was consistent with an unknown female contributor. These batteries were important. These smoke detectors were important, right? On September the 4th of 2019, investigators obtained arrest warrants for Eric Maxwell.
All right. You okay?
One charging him with capital murder. The other 2 were arson warrants. The arson who would have been the victims in this were the neighbors who called 911. So 2 arson warrants, 1 capital murder warrant. They don't tell anyone. If you remember, they interviewed Maxwell and Hill back in August, and they said, hey, can you come in here on September 6th so we can talk with you? He's been cooperative, as far as we know, every other time. So he agrees. He shows up to the DPS Decatur office, goes in, again claiming his innocence. I believe it was in this interview he says, hey, the DNA is going to show I didn't have anything to do with this. So he goes there on what would have been a voluntary or a consensual interview. He is not in custody. He is free to leave whenever he wants to. He could get up and walk out at any point during this investigation. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why the investigators are going to do this, right? I mean, they're reading a Miranda warning to somebody can create a barrier to an interrogation. I mean, there's certain delivery styles and things like that, but it's still nonetheless a barrier. So they bring him in under the ruse.
Because you don't have to say a word.
Because you don't have to, and you tell them.
And they want you to feel free.
Yes. So they bring him.
Speak from your heart.
Speak from your heart. They ask him, hey, come in on September 6th and let's talk about this. And he does. And he again says, I didn't do this. I have nothing to do with this. So he gets up and walks out. And when he gets up and walks out, he gets in his car. He pulls out of that DPS office, and they pull him over. Felony traffic stop. Got the guns pointed at him, ordered him out of the car. And Eric Maxwell is placed under arrest for capital murder of Lauren Whitener and 2 counts of arson. Mm-hmm. I think we need to end it here.
Yeah.
Because the case continues even further. There's more to the story. There's more things that come up. So in episode 9 of the Signal 51 Chronicles, we're going to conclude this story. We're going to let the viewers, listeners know what happened, how this thing turns out.
Before we move forward, let's pause and take stock of what we actually know at this point, the investigation in the death of 32-year-old Lauren Whitener, who was killed was found dead in the morning of July 5th, 2019 by Wise County deputies who responded to a 911 call from a neighbor who reported smoke at a duplex at 620 North Main Street in Lake Bridgeport, Texas. Inside, firefighters found Ms. Whitener deceased on a burned mattress. A couch in the living room had been also set on fire, and the front door deadbolted.
Deadbolted, yes.
The autopsy determined that Ms. Whitener was stabbed 18 times.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the wounds to her back. Smoke inhalation, we found, was not a contributing factor in her death, meaning the fire was set after she had already died. Ms. Whitener was an Army veteran, a surgical nurse, and a single mother of one 8-year-old son. And we also discovered that she was close to her neighbors, Mr. Rodney Eric Maxwell, who goes by Eric, and Ms. Ashley Hill, who lived 2 doors down in a common law relationship. Investigators learned not long after Ms. Whitener's being discovered that relationship was actually extremely close. And some would describe it as a throuple.
Mm-hmm.
A sexual relationship involving all three. Investigators collected dozens of items from the crime scene, as well as a report from the neighbors that Maxwell and Hill had gotten into an altercation on July 4th. Lauren intervened. They all went their separate ways. Lauren to her house, the Maxwells and Hills to theirs. We learned in the waning moments of episode 2 that deputies arrested Mr. Eric Maxwell on charges of capital murder and arson. And they arrested them. We have made a conclusion on some pretty thin evidence.
Seems to be what we know, like what we have access to. Yes, I think that's a fair description. We tried to get more, but I think got to run around a little bit, so it was hard to obtain the documents we wanted to get.
So let's get on with part 3.
Yep.
This is the case that falls apart. Hit us.
Okay, so like you had mentioned, July 5th murder, couple search warrants. This thing drags on all the way until September 6th when Maxwell shows up for a voluntary interview, gets interviewed, leaves, placed under arrest. Maxwell is now in custody. It would seem like the investigation is somewhat over.
They've arrested somebody.
They had enough to write arrest warrants for him and take him to a judge and say, Judge, this is what we suspect. Well, doesn't stop there. October 2nd.
So to arrest somebody, let's just talk about that for right quickly. To arrest somebody, you've got to go before a judge and say, I've got
Probable cause.
probable cause. And
the judge says, yes, I agree, and signs it, or no, I doesn't.
does a detective or investigator have to show what evidence he has to do that? Or is it just all part of a document that he lines out and the judge looks at it and the judge approves it or doesn't approve it?
Yeah, just document.
All right.
So you would think, hey, that's it. They may be at this point, after the arrest of Maxwell, kind of tying up some loose ends, things of the sorts. Well, not exactly. On October 2nd, 2019, Texas Rangers interrogated, if you remember, I talk about a person of interest. I don't know who that person of interest is, but they interrogate the same person of interest. And in one of the documents that we used to source some of this information, it was from Barry Green, the defense attorney. This was in the motion for bond reduction. He described these tactics of the person of interest as, quote, an interrogation using techniques which had previously been used upon the defendant, end quote. Again, that's where we're talking about not so much this consensual interview. Now, one other thing. You remember in August, investigators seized several items from the truck belonging to the person of interest in Austin, Texas?
Yeah.
On November the 4th of 2019, Wise County Sheriff's Office transferred multiple DNA swabs from the person of interest truck and that cut-off white T-shirt that had the blood and soot on it. They transferred those to the Pure Gold Forensics for a lab analysis.
Which we think is in California, and they're contracted by
it
the
is
Wise County.
both. Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
correct.
Wise County Sheriff's Office.
In November, case still goes on. What happens with this stuff? We don't know yet. But in November of 2019, Maxwell was indicted in Wise County for that capital murder charge. I'm going to read you the indictment. So this pertains to the charge capital murder by terror, threat, / other felony. That's a capital felony, right?
Yeah, this is death penalty.
There's two choices, death penalty or life.
Life in prison, yeah. Capital murder or murder.
The grand jury for the County of Wise, State of Texas, duly selected, impaneled, sworn, charged, and organized as such at the July term of 2019 of the 271st Judicial District Court for said county, upon their oaths, present in and to said court at said term, that Rodney Eric Maxwell, hereinafter styled defendant, on or about the 5th day of July 2019 and before the presentment of this indictment in the county and state aforesaid did in paragraph 1 then and there intentionally caused the death of an individual, namely Lauren Ann Whitener, by cutting and stabbing Lauren Ann Whitener with a knife, and the defendant was then and there in the course, this is new, in the course of committing or attempting to commit the offense of aggravated sexual assault of Lauren Ann Whitener.
Yeah, all right.
So now we have this sexual assault introduced.
Yeah, because it was, capital murder and arson.
In the very first episode, if you remember, we talk about during the autopsy, they do that sexual assault exam.
Yeah.
Right?
Sexual assault kit, right?
Kit.
Rape kit.
Yeah, in short, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Well, during hers, they did find evidence, i.e. sperm. On December 20th of 2019, Pure Gold Forensics comes back into our case. They email Wise County investigators. In the email, I'm just going to go ahead and read the email, and we'll put it up there for people to see. Sent Friday, December 20th at 7:23 p.m. This, I believe, is a forward. Here's the latest Pure Gold and the Swifts report. So the Swifts is something we didn't get into. Swifts is that offsite lab. It's in Dallas. That's where they're processing a lot of that evidence. Okay.
Gotcha.
Pure Gold is a separate consultant style out-of-state lab. Okay.
Gotcha.
So Wise County is using Swifts. So it's Southwest. I don't know the exact acronym without looking it up. Says, quote, Lieutenant Downs, I have reviewed the work performed by Swifts. Well, I'm not going to quote it. It's pretty graphic, but long story short.
Yeah, give us
the
a summary.
Pure Gold scientist, analyst reviews some of the evidence. Whitener did have intercourse within about a 24 to 36 hour time period. More recent sexual intercourse, and it resulted in a lower than number amount of sperm cells. And more recent intercourse with a male who does not produce the typical number of sperm cells, right? So there's three things. The microscope smear was found to be sperm positive with a low quantity of sperm heads.
And that it happened within
24 to 36 hours. Yeah. My interpretation of this profile is that it is consistent with Whitener, plus an unknown male, plus a possible third trace level contributor. I believe the foreign male contributor can be determined, and here's where it gets really strange. All male references tested to date are eliminated as possible contributors to this profile.
That includes Eric Maxwell.
That includes Eric Maxwell.
Because he very readily and willingly gives them samples.
But again, you go back to that grand jury indictment.
He's accused of it.
And it's there. I mean, that's what it says. Then and there, in the course of committing or attempting to commit the offense of aggravated sexual assault of Lauren Ann Whitener.
All right, this is a mess.
Let's go back and...
I'd like to know who's on this grand jury.
So let's go back and look at all of the evidence. What is there that ties Maxwell to this case?
They're neighbors.
What evidence ties him to this case?
None.
In fact, the evidence...
Zero.
...seems to almost support a claim that he has nothing to do with this case.
Right.
Arrested in September. He's in custody. You don't know why he's in custody? Because the bond amount's pretty darn high. Now, look, I'm not saying a bond amount for capital murder should not be high. He's in custody on a $750,000 bond.
Mm-hmm.
March of 2020, Barry Green, his attorney, files a motion to reduce Maxwell's bond. The motion was granted. Maxwell was able to bond out. We will also show some of the information in that bond reduction. But when you read that, again, is it one-sided? Sure. Barry Green's the defense attorney, right? That's his interpretation. That's his side.
Yeah.
Okay, but when you read that, you have to ask yourself, what do they have? Because they gave, so the discovery packet, the prosecution gives Barry Green what is described as over 1 terabyte of evidence. Where I still have the questions is what do they have that ties this Maxwell guy to this? So you would think you read through this bond reduction motion, and you're like, oh, man, I mean, they got to drop the charges on him.
Yeah, I mean, how's this even continue to go?
What do you do? No, they don't. It was not until September of 2020 that the charges against Eric Maxwell were finally dismissed.
So like a year later.
1 year later after his arrest, they finally dropped the charges on Maxwell. But where does that leave us?
Empty-handed.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Whoever killed her is still out there.
Yeah.
They have evidence that they could test, I would think, right? They have the...
They got all that stuff from Austin, where that stuff is.
Who knows? And that's the thing. Who knows? I think if there was something to that Austin evidence, I would hope, I would think, that they would probably pursue that. But the reality is we're 5.5 years later.
They haven't the foggiest idea.
Nothing.
So I have a question. Mm-hmm. If the door was deadbolted from the inside, how did that person get out?
Yeah, great question.
How did she deadbolt it and then somebody was with her and then they left somehow? But
Through the back door, through a window.
Yeah, like, was there any evidence of somebody leaving the house?
Well, there was evidence, but unfortunately it wasn't found or noted until after the
restoration company came in.
Crew went through there. They're not following practices, and more than likely, they're not following practices and procedures, because if they're there, they're thinking, well, it's not a crime scene anymore. I don't have to.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, they didn't clean this house under any supervision of law enforcement. I'm sure they just
supervision of news cameras. It's on. We'll post that video.
They just went in and started cleaning.
Is anybody questioned who?
Well, real quick though, going back to your about the locked door, that's a fair question, right? Everybody has this fear of the boogeyman coming in through a window and back door, kicking in a back door. Well, the back door wasn't kicked in. Mm-hmm. Perhaps it was unlocked. The reality is that's pretty rare. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that these dudes won't sneak in through a window at 4 o'clock in the morning. But here's what else.
Also indicates somebody has a key.
Deadbolt, though.
Aren't you locking that from the outside?
You can't
lock it back from the inside.
You could.
But here's the other thing. It's a duplex. If this was a house in the country with no neighbors, I'm good with the idea of nobody hearing somebody getting stabbed to death 18 times. It's a duplex. I find it hard to believe, because let's just play an assumption here. Let's just assume that she's laying in her bed asleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the boogeyman comes in through the window or through the back door and just immediately starts stabbing her.
Right.
Now, outside of a fatal wound on the first stab, which could happen.
Right.
Not saying
It kills her instantly.
Outside of that, what do you think her first reaction is going to be?
She's gonna scream.
Scream
Yeah.
loudly.
And she's got a wall neighbor.
She has a neighbor who shares a wall. The other thing is, keep in mind her background. I mean, she's a combat veteran.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that she's highly trained in hand-to-hand combat or anything of the sorts. I'm not saying that. She's not just your run-of-the-mill, I've never been faced or trained in any kind of scenario like this.
Combat danger. Yeah.
Right. They focus on that bottle of charcoal lighter fluid, and you remember the red gas can.
Yeah.
I forgot to touch on this. They saw it on Maxwell's porch on July 11th. They are investigating an arson.
Correct.
You would think that would be a valuable evidence item to seize.
Did they not even collect it?
They didn't collect that until a week later. Okay. But here's the other part of that. How likely is it that this person, guy, girl, who knows? Remember, there was girl DNA on battery too. Who knows who killed her? Mm-hmm. How likely is it that they go in there? I think the goal was to completely set the house on fire. They failed at that. Why? Because why else would you set the couch on in the front room and then the bed, right? You're hoping, hey, this fire is going to spread quickly. It's highly unlikely that the arsonist is going to take the accelerants with them. Because if in their mind, hey, this thing's going to go up in flames.
Catch my house on fire.
Well, so too would be a gas can. So too would be the charcoal lighter fluid, right?
Yeah.
Because that was one thing. The lab did say her body had the accelerant would have been consistent with that lighter fluid bottle they found. You're taking that with you? You're running out of the back door carrying a bottle of charcoal lighter fluid and a gas can?
No. Doesn't make any sense.
The trail of blood. I have not seen these. I've only heard of these. There's crime scene photos that show investigators on or around the night of the murder in the backyard where that trail of blood, that single blade of grass theory emerges. Could they have transferred it? Sure. And if there was a trail of blood that's 50 feet long, I mean, to me, a trail would imply that there's hundreds of blades of grass.
Yeah.
At least you submit one to the lab?
That's odd to me. But investigators also could have tainted that trail too, just walking around back there and doing all that stuff.
Well,
right?
the thing, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think there was any ill intent.
No.
And again, I mean, here's the reality. So Wise County is what one could consider a safe community, right?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of people getting murdered in Wise County.
No, in fact, I bet that's the only one in.
Oh, maybe they get one a year.
Right.
The entire county.
Right.
So, and again, not a knock, not anything more than sometimes experience means something.
Certainly.
If you investigate 10 murders in 1 year, you're probably pretty damn proficient.
Yeah, exactly.
If you investigate one murder a year or one every other year, you're not going to be as proficient.
And those murders once a year is probably a layup case. They probably know
yeah, it could be like a domestic
thing.
Like
yeah, a
drug
deal gone wrong and all that stuff. Yeah, there's probably not a whole lot of investigating that they actually have to do.
I wish, we asked for, we did our open records request for the arrest warrants, the search warrants. We got the runaround. Go here, go to the county clerk's office. Go to, I can't remember. I don't remember the exact order. But the reality is that what we needed is in that investigative file, right? I mean. And again, we're not asking for anything. We're simply just asking for the search warrants and arrest warrants that were tied to that case. Then, we didn't get them, and that it is what it is. I mean, obviously it's still, I would hope, an open and active investigation, but we conclude with there's still somebody running around.
Absolutely. I highly likely they're not in Wise County anymore. But who knows?
Like, there was some things that confused me. So the mattress, they never took that. I mean, that's very much a part of the crime.
Yeah, it's a key
Don't take that.
piece of the crime.
There was blood splatter on or near the bed, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know that was ever analyzed, because that's one of the other things. If you stab somebody 18 times, do you think that you're coming out of that scot-free?
Of course not.
They confronted Maxwell the day of, mere hours after. They made no note of any cuts on his hand.
Yeah.
Anything.
I mean, OJ had the notorious cut on his middle finger.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, this is where we're ending. I mean, you know, like I said, hopefully it's still active. Hopefully they're still looking into it. Hopefully some of this evidence is being examined.
So one thing, and this is so how many fire alarms were there? And did they check to see if there were any hooks under fire alarms?
Any what?
Hooks.
What do you mean hooks?
Yeah, the kink community makes fire alarms into hooks where they can hang them from. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there were in total 4 smoke detectors. Mm-hmm. Only 3 of them had been removed from the ceiling. They found those, and then the batteries had been taken out of the 3 that were removed and placed in the trash.
Interesting. So they didn't remove the 4th one?
They may not have known. You know, it's one of those things where and that's the other thing. I mean,
if you check 3, why wouldn't you check 4?
Because what if it was in a back corner of a room? What if it was something they just simply overlooked? It would be my thoughts.
They're probably in a hurry. They're,
I would think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last time I lit a duplex on fire, that's, what I did. I let one slip away.
One of my favorite things to do, guys.
God.
Well, and then where's the kid's dad?
That's a good question.
Don't know where the dad is. I mean, again,
Was she the primary caretaker of the child?
From what I could tell, yes. That's what it appeared that she was. Again.
And he probably, if that's the case, Dad probably had the kid for maybe the summer, possibly a long extended period, or for the 4th of July.
I mean, we reached out to multiple people to try to get an idea about Lauren, maybe to get some background. It's a sensitive topic, so frankly, nobody got back with us, which I understand. I mean, they probably don't want to, peel that open.
Because I mean, you would think one of the people that they would look into, maybe they did, is Dad, just because intimate relationship,
maybe.
Violence is a thing.
Yeah.
If she was involved in this throuple,
You know what I did?
There could be a whole lot of people who don't like that.
And
she knows.
I have no idea what this means. I'm not in any way, shape, or form pointing a finger, suggesting, promoting any kind of theory in this. But one of the things on her Facebook page, almost exactly 1 year before, she leaves a positive review for a law firm. I think it was just general. I don't want to say without actually knowing for sure, but I thought that was interesting. I mean, it just doesn't seem, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're like, hey, send us our 5-star review after we've helped you out. I don't know, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
Could be a friend.
But here's the problem though. Like right now, there was so much available. There was so much of this case that was made available to the public that it's almost as if
they're begging for y'all to solve it.
Well, anybody they come across, there's so much out there to where it's like, okay, so now they know a defense. Like, we need to answer this question. There's so much available information out there that it's going to be hard, because at this point, any other suspect is going to be able to answer many of these questions.
Yeah.
Whether they're fact or fiction answers.
They have an answer to these questions. Yeah.
Did they look into anybody she served with, or how long had she been? Was she out of service?
She was out. We actually did try to. That was one of the people we did try to get a hold of. Did not have any luck there. So the best I could tell, she had completed her
Her service.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because that's the big thing for me is that lock being deadbolted. Like,
Oh yeah.
the lock being deadbolted. Nobody else is in the house. Nothing else has been tampered with. All the doors and windows are locked. Like, that is something that not the average person can get done.
Well, and it is also. I mean, it is incredibly rare that an unknown person goes and, like I said, I mean, there are the boogeyman stories out there, but they're pretty damn rare.
In Lake Bridgeport?
Especially in Lake Bridgeport, Texas, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of remote, if you will.
I mean, it's got to be somebody she knew. You know, it was just typically that's the case anyway, right? I mean, you know, unless you're talking about a serial killer, there aren't many serial killers roaming Wise County.
Unless they're specifically looking for her.
Well, you say that. I think
That'd be the best place to hide, where you're not looking for somebody.
there was some online theories of it was a murder that happened here. Well, I say it happened here. The bodies were recovered here in Fort Worth, just a mere few miles from where we're sitting right now, in fact. Back in 2020 or 2021, they were found in a dumpster.
Yeah, I recall this, yeah.
Right, and the dumpster was set on fire.
Correct.
And then the guy in that case was also accused. I don't know if he's been convicted. I don't know the status of it. But another house, like barely a mile to the southeast of where we're sitting right now, they thought it was like an accidental fire, had something to do with a gas leak. It turns out it wasn't. Same suspect. Well, that guy apparently had a Wise County tie.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe via probation or something of the sorts. Now, again, they have his DNA sample. He's no longer an unknown person, right?
Yeah.
If he's been incarcerated, that you know, at least at the county level. Like I said, I don't know the status of his case. So
I wonder how those others were killed, too.
I believe the ones they found in the dumpster were also stabbed.
Is that right?
I think they were decapitated.
Oh. Escalation.
Yeah.
I'll say this.
Possible.
The specimen sample being as large as it was, I'm kind of shocked that there was only. It seems like lazy work to me that the only person that was a person of technical, like that has been seen throughout this as a technical person of interest was the neighbor. Even though they were in a sexual relationship, from what you're saying about the mattress and whatnot and her rape kit, it sounds like there were at least 3 people in 24 hours.
24 to 36 hours,
24 to 36, yeah.
At least 3 people.
And, of course, that Eric Maxwell was specifically excluded.
That's what blows me away.
That it really is.
I mean,
That's
I just don't, that part I don't understand. I mean, like I said, I don't know the rhyme or reason for that. You know, unfortunately, we don't, you know, hopefully at some point this thing gets solved. But again, we're 5.5 years into it.
Well, I say that we follow up on this.
Agreed.
We'll keep looking into it.
This remains a mystery, yes, and see if we can't deploy the tools to do so. So anyway,
I was gonna say, if you have to take a guess, though, if we look ahead in a year, and we keep looking into this, today, do you think that currently the person who did it is somebody who's a suspect?
Well, I mean,
Or do you think there are no suspects and everybody's on the table?
the problem is, I mean, the evidence there said they compared some of the DNA samples to people they already had known samples from, and they were all absolutely excluded.
yeah, I don't. It sounds to me like they don't really have a suspect.
I don't think they do.
All right, that does it for episode 9. Like and follow, share, all those things you can do on the socials. to promote Signal 51 Chronicles.
And also, send us your thoughts.
Yeah, send us your thoughts on this case.
Post them up there. I mean, because some people may know about this, and some people may have their own theories too.
Yeah.
Let's get a whole chat started on this, y'all.
Do it. Now, you can find us everywhere. Is that right, Ashley? On
Yes.
YouTube.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You can find us everywhere on that, on Sunset Lounge DFW or Signal 51 Chronicles. We are on all major platforms for audio, almost all of them for video. And then any of our social medias, we have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
What she said.
All of it.
We'll see you next time. I think I'm going to go binge Adam 12
Yeah, go do that.
later.
Suspect is armed and dangerous. I repeat, the suspect is armed and dangerous.
This is a Stolen Water Media production.